You decided to attend AFM here in Santa Monica. What was your plan going into that event?
So my plan going into the event was to try to find some interest in distribution. We wanted the film to be out there more than just the app that we had created. So I had did things a little different. As you know, I raised money and built our own app, and then we streamed our film on our own app. So we could build a subscriber base to make more projects and to make some of our money back. We wanted to take it to the next step, but that meant you needed to find distributors who were interested. So I linked up with an entertainment attorney, basically to go down there with me and to represent us and to reach out to some of those distributors ahead of time to try to get meetings.
What was that like when you walked through the doors of the hotel for AFM?
My initial thought was it's the type of thing I don't like. I don't like networking events. I don't like these big events where you just have a million people who are starving to make it in one spot. I don't think that's the best way to get things done. But I have a friend who's worked at Nickelodeon and a few other places who I met early in my film journey who recommended that I should still go to AFM. Because whether or not you like that type of environment, it's still a big deal and there are still deals that happen. And so we did it. We went down there and our lawyer got some meetings and we made our pitches.
Well, maybe we could hear a little bit more about what you learned and what happened while at AFM.
What I learned is nobody's special. It's just a numbers game to most of these companies. You are one out of a million different films. You can tell them that the film made $50 million and you don't have a distributor and none of them care. You're another film. Because at this point in the game, they all do it by numbers. They put out a certain amount of films every week, every month, every year, and they've calculated they're gonna get this much money back, and that's how they do it. And so you have to be very deliberate in defining your audience for them or they're just gonna pass on you. You have to be able to sit down across the table from them and say, this is our audience, this is the genre, and that's like it. Because if they're lost in any part of that, they're just like pass. And it was good for me to go through the process of raising money for a company because investors are the same way. When you're dealing with investors with companies, like they will just cut you out for the littlest reasons. And so if you tell them, I'm trying to do a website and an app, they're gonna be like, whoa. Is it an app or is it a website? And in your head, you're like, what's the difference? But in their heads, they're like, you need to get your stuff together. I'm not interested. So you have to be very clear about what you're doing. I'm doing an app that does this. And so when you sit down with these distributors, you're saying, I have a movie that's about this. This is the audience. And they'll go from there. And they'll usually ask you for a link so they can watch it. They want it to be quality still. But if you're going in there thinking, oh, I've got this amazing idea that you've never heard, you just need to hear me out, they're gonna cut you out before you even get to finish. And you see that. You see people that go in there and do that. And so, I'm sure that I drove my lawyer crazy because I did all the talking. I like to control everything. So when we went in there, I felt like I could do a better pitch. And so I did all the pitching. I just needed, not to sound bad, but I needed the lawyer to get me through the door. But after I got through the door, I knew that I would be the one that was going to do the pitching and do the talking. So.
Well, it sounds like, too, you didn't want to just be passive in the experience and in the process.
No, because you only get one shot with some of these people, and they do it yearly. And sometimes, it's true. You get one shot and you need to make it count. And you need to go in there and you need to be very confident about what you're doing. And, for me, when I'm sitting down with them, it was like, why aren't you doing this deal with me? Like, I should be interviewing you because our film's done so well to this point. Like, I shouldn't even have to explain to you. You should look at the numbers and just know you need this genre and we've done well. And I can choose from any number of distributors here. Like, that's the kind of confidence you have to have going in. And once you kind of level that out with them, then you start to have real conversations with them. Because most of the time when you walk in, they're just gonna look at you like it is just another starving artist. But if you go in there and dictate the terms the moment you sit down, not being a jerk, but you let them know like, hey, I have options. I'm confident with what we're doing. let's get moving. They treat you a little bit different. And we went back and forth for months, even after we got a distribution offer, because I turned down the first distribution offer we had.
Where are these meetings taking place?
So with AFM, it's an amazing thing. You know, they rent this hotel. I think this one was in Santa Monica that I went to, and they turned the whole hotel into miniature offices. So all of the rooms that you would typically stay in with beds, they're all converted into offices. And you go from office to office, and they're all different distributors from around the world. Deal makers, producers, fundraisers, things like that. And it's an amazing thing. I've never seen anything like it. And there's thousands of people there, and that's what you do. You go there and you pitch.
Were you bringing anything with you to show proof to some of these distributors of how many people came out, what the experience was like?
Yeah, no, believe it or not. There's no time. You know, these pitches are like 5 minutes that you get with some of these people, maybe 10 minutes. And you ideally would identify the people you want to meet with ahead of time, because AFM will release a list of the people who are going to be there. And then you get a hold of them through your lawyer ahead of time, and you send them the trailer link, you send them all these different things that you hope that they'll look at. My experience was actually that most of them don't look at any of this stuff ahead of time because they're being bombarded. So your best opportunity is to go in there and just interest them in those 5 minutes of your conversation, to get them to go back, find your email, and then watch the trailer, and then continue the conversation.
Is it correct that you had 3 distribution offers for American Homeboy?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, we had 3 distribution offers.
And without saying who those offers were with, can you tell us what the 3 offers were and what your thoughts were?
So all of them were kind of the same. They were offers to distribute to, you know, the major platforms. So it could be Apple TV, Netflix, Amazon, you know, all these different places. Each one was sort of different in the types of rights they were asking for. And, you know, we knocked heads on some of those things. You know, I walked away from all the distribution offers at one point. And that's why actually from the moment that we received a distribution offer, it took 7 months before we closed it from when we actually received the offer. Because I was being a little bit stubborn on some of the rights I wanted to give up. And, you know, my lawyer will probably tell you that, you know, there was a point when everybody was pretty much mad at me. The distributors were mad at me, my own lawyer was mad at me, because they were like, you know, it's like 1%, less than 1% of people who even get a distribution offer at AFM. And we got 3 of them. And then here I am saying, no, I don't want it, after going in there and asking for it. But I just knew that what I'd be giving up if I just signed away all of those rights that they were asking for. And so I stuck to my ground, I held my ground, and eventually they came around and I was able to sign a distribution offer. And I asked for a lot. You know, I carved out almost everything. I just licensed the SVOD and AVOD rights. I didn't want to give up the ancillary rights or the merchandise type rights, because I knew that I wanted to have a book come out next year, and we had continued merchandise. I didn't give them educational rights because by this point we've already been screening at universities all around the country. So why would I give it to them? We kept AVOD rights because I built my own app and streamed it on our own. AVOD means, SVOD rights. So streaming video on demand, we kept those rights. We licensed transactional video on demands and ad-supported video on demand rights. And that's it. We carved out everything else. And in retrospect, it was a good decision because it took another almost, 8 months before the film finally went to streaming, or is going to go to streaming, after doing that deal. So it took 7 months to close the deal after getting the deal, another 8 months or so to finally get, the film to go to screening. So that whole time we would have been losing money had I just given it up.
And so, forgive me, it's currently on the app now?
It is currently on our app. Yep.
Your app, okay.
And that was a source of contention because obviously distributors don't want to distribute a movie that's already being distributed. And, I raised money to make a film and I raised money to build an app. And then we streamed the film on our own app to build subscribers, to make money back, to work on another project. they wanted us to get rid of all of that. And so that meant giving up SVOD rights, streaming video on demand. What we came to, the agreement was we can keep it on our own app. SVOD rights we keep. I would give them transactional video demand rights and ad-supported video on demand rights. So transactional video on demand means one-click purchases. So you know how on some platforms you can go on and you do one-click purchase and you watch a film? So that's what we license to them. And then ad video on demand is another one where people can watch ad-supported platforms. So yeah, we kept the SVOD. It means that we gave up the potential to be on one of the bigger streamers. But the truth is that bigger streamer relies on people just wanting that prestige, but it's not necessarily the smartest business decision. And so they throw around their name a lot and they get deals left and right. And but then what happens is you get one payout and then that's it. It's done. It's on that one streamer, and then they can shelve it at any point. They can resell it at any point, do what they want with any ancillary rights or anything like that. And so for me, building a business, small business, and wanting to make future projects, I knew going in that that wasn't going to work. I wanted to control everything as much as I could. And so that meant saying no to a bigger streamer. And I'm okay with that.
Is sometimes going with the bigger streamer good in the sense that at least there's the visual and people will know about it? They may just even know the poster, and then later they can come back to an AVOD platform?
I think everybody just needs to make their own decision on what works for them. I think some people just want a quick payout. And I think some people want the prestige. They want to say, hey, my film's on this platform. But I think for me, it's been a tremendous advantage, and we've been able to do a lot of things by having our own company. People treat you different when you are sitting down at the other end of the table with an actual company, as opposed to being the quote unquote starving artist. And so for us, we knew that we wanted to try to make more projects. We knew that we wanted to keep the rights for other things like books and merchandise and educational rights. It's been huge in colleges. And so for us, it's been great to see kids learn about this history. And if I hand it over to some big streamer who has no interest in that because they're not personally invested in it, then those kids can't see it, because some of these streamers, they have different deals with educational. They don't let educational outlets stream. They got to pay separate licensing. And so for us, we just, I needed to find that balance between my personal love for that history and making it accessible, and then also making sure that we don't lose a bunch of money, or no investor is going to want to work with you again. So, yeah.
Was the film already profitable before negotiating these distribution rights?
Yes. Yeah. We had already made our money back by the time that we started negotiating distribution rights.
And this was through the screenings, or how?
This was through theater screenings and through streaming on our own app.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So the combination of two. And so, and that was a real talking point with these distributors?
It actually wasn't. I expected it to be, but like I said, one of the disheartening things that you learn in dealing with these distributors is you're just one of a million films to them. At this point in the game, they're all kind of keeping it as tight as possible. They know that if they just push numbers, distribute a certain number of films a week, a month, a year, they'll make X amount of money back. And so that's what they focus on. And the diamond in the rough, or this film that's doing super well, they don't really look at it like you think they would look at it. And so I think some of the bigger distributors like Warner Brothers and things like that, who don't do independent films, they do major blockbusters, they might look at a film that's a diamond in the rough and say, hey, we're going to put in $200 million in marketing on this film or something like that. But for indie filmmaking, dealing with some of these distributors, I haven't found that to be the case. So,
if you were to give a talk to someone that says, hey, I have this film and I'm coming from another state, I'm coming to LA, I know there's like 5 people that I'm meeting with, what would you tell them about promises, keeping your word, and also not compromising on your integrity? especially if you have something that you're just so passionate about, but then there's people with all different agendas coming at you.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to remember that it isn't a business where one person makes or breaks you. It really isn't. I think that you can probably look back at a few individual cases where you had like Weinstein go out and sign Troy Duffy from Boston in Making Boondock Saints, where you get these kind of one-off people with a lot of money who would do things like that. Tarantino, one of them, but they're not the standard. That's not the standard. I mean, it's a long process to get a film made, and which means you have to go through a lot of yeses. And so anybody who's just, I'm going to go to this meeting, they're going to make me, that type of thing, I think if you set your expectations correctly, you won't be so hurt when it doesn't work out. And you'll be less willing also to sell your soul. Recognize that just because this person views it this way doesn't mean it's the end all be all. Everybody probably over exaggerates their role in the process of getting a film from point A to point Z anyways. You meet people who, they'll take all these meetings and they'll kind of talk a big game about how they can do this and do that for you. But really they're just a little cog in the machine of this big distribution company. It's why it takes films 5-10 years sometimes to get made, because you have to go through so many different people and there's so many different things that go into making a film. So I think, you could save yourself a lot of time by getting out of the idea to begin with, the mindset that one person's going to make or break you to begin with. And I think if you stick with your vision, just wait until you meet somebody that it can work with and work together to try to push it forward. That's probably the best way to go about it. Because you can find anybody to match anything in this city. You just have to, I guess what I'm saying is don't go with the first person that talks you up or says or promises you the world. I view this as largely a long-term game. I think it's about getting to know people over time and building real relationships that when the opportunity comes up, you're already prepared, and then maybe you can work together on something. And in my opinion, that's how things get done. It's not really going to be like, oh, I just get this one meeting randomly and I'm going to fly out of state and they're going to make or break me. So, yeah, you just got to look at it like a long-term game.
Curious, Brandon, why did you hire an entertainment attorney outside of LA?
Well, this was I went back and forth on this, and I probably same reason why I hired a poster maker who doesn't do movie posters, because I like to have somebody who has a fresh set of eyes and a fresh plate. And I thought that if I could bring in an entertainment attorney who wasn't already bogged down in any politics or been through anything bad with anybody, or can come in and have a fresh viewpoint, that it might be an added advantage. I also think that, a lot of the attorneys in LA, they're probably a little bit grizzled at this point, and not a lot gets them excited because they have their clientele that's successful, and then they rarely take in new people. And whereas I think if you have somebody who's fresh and hungry and from outside of the system but wanting to get in, they might push a little bit harder for you. And so that was my reason for hiring an entertainment attorney. Now, alternatively, the risk is you have somebody from outside the system just like you. You're from outside the system. You're not here 24/7. So my lawyer's not here networking 24/7. So maybe he can't get your foot in the door like you would want. So that's a risk too. And I think that, each individual person is going to have to decide that for themselves on what type of risk that they want to take. But for me, it was more affordable. It was somebody who was more driven and hungry to work on my behalf and to help me out. And I think from reading the room, my perspective, the way I gauged it is people just want to see that you are vetted in some sort of way. They don't even care who the attorney is. They just want to know that somebody's vetting for you, that vouching for you and vetted you. And if they're official like an attorney, that's enough. And that turned out to be the case.
Yeah, and plus it shows that you're willing to put your money on the line to hire an attorney, so you must be serious.
Yeah,
as well.
and you know, every attorney is different. You know, I was lucky that this attorney, we basically, you know, I paid, I don't remember how much I paid, but it wasn't a lot. And the idea was that it would help him getting the film made. And so we would reevaluate if we were able to get a distribution deal.